My name is Dan Miller. I am from Carlton, Nebraska, but I call my hometown Shickley. My wife is Sarah. She's originally from Geneva. We met in college and have been on the family farm ever since. We have two daughters, Hannah and Haley. Hannah is going into being a junior in college at UNL, and Haley is going to be a junior right here at Shickley. So I grew up as a Carlton kid. Part of that was, first of all, our address is Carlton, but a lot of my family and friends growing up were from Carlton. As I got older and started school, kind of transitioned into being more active in Shickley, and obviously had classmates here in Shickley. Graduated from Shickley, just like my dad. Went on to UNL, where I majored in agronomy. And so I've always lived in this area other than being away just during college. And so I've returned, and back in 1997, I've been home ever since as a full-time farmer on the family farm south of Shickley, north of Carlton. So I always knew I wanted to be involved in agriculture. You know, not only grew up on the family farm, but I always worked there every summer. We were a corn and soybean and wheat crop rotation, and we had a decent sized feedlot where we fed feeder steers out, and had a small sheep flock that basically just was there as a clean up the weeds and clean up the spilled corn. But that was a project that I then took on as an FFA project in addition to the placement on the farm. I had more of a desire to be in the agronomics, the crop growing aspects of farming, so that's what I looked at doing when I went to college. That's kind of where our family has been led to. We're no longer feeding livestock or feeding cattle. So going to college, I mean, I kind of knew the pathway forward. Going into agriculture, I knew that I wanted to come home to the family farm. Knowing after college, this community and this area is tied to agriculture and is a strong agricultural community. Good farmland, good water, good resources, and good people. And so having good services and good businesses, and most of all good people to come back to not only live with as business people to work with, but as friends and neighbors, was very important on my decision to be long-term as a career in agriculture. Kind of as a side hobby, our family has always had a large garden. As time went on, that's turned into a large pumpkin patch, which both my daughters have used as a SAE project. And as many of you know, in this town, we have offered pumpkins and Indian corn and gourds for sale each fall as their project. And it's kind of become a family project. A lot of memories growing up in the area and in Shickley. I guess one holiday that comes to mind is Halloween. Like most kids and people growing up in this town, there was always a little mischief involved. One of our traditions was to gather pumpkins from the area and turn the street orange on Halloween night. Jerry Casper would always be up bright and early out there scraping them off and hauling them away. Halloween's kind of evolved into our kids and their friends would get on our hay rack, and we would go around each Halloween. And fortunately, we never ran anybody over. Nobody got hurt. Everybody stayed on the hay rack. But that was always a tradition we did here in Shickley for a lot of years. I guess for my age, another memory that always comes to mind is the fact that I grew up as Shickley just being Shickley. And, you know, don't get me wrong, the BDS co-op has worked very good and has brought three towns together and allowed our kids to participate at a very competitive level and enjoy all the activities we did. But it was fun being the green and white Shickley Longhorns as we were kids and into high school. And, you know, I really thought the town came together to support and be there and be entertained by what was going on in the town of Shickley. And that's just something that I always remembered. So I look at our family and our involvement in this community, our placement of where we live is between a lot of communities. We have a lot of family that have been involved in other communities, but we've tried to do our best to support the whole area. But as I look at Shickley, a couple things come to mind. As you look at the Shickley Community Foundation, my dad was on the initial startup in 1991, and I am on my second term. I think I'm 15, 16 years in on the board. And then my third generation daughter, Hannah, who's giving the interview right now with Mariah, would be considered a third generation. She is a second year intern for our Shickley Community Foundation. School board, my grandpa Albert served on the school board, my dad served on the school board, and I served on the school board. It's just something you do when you're in a small community. You try to become involved, you try to fill those positions where you're needed, and there's plenty of things to choose from, and so you just try to do your part. Our family's tried to be big supporters of the town in basically every project they've ever done, whether that's monetary or time. My wife Sarah has spent a ton of time helping with the ballpark and ball field. Hannah has also spent quite a bit of time down there. My youngest daughter still is an active player. We've always tried to be there and be supportive of all these projects because we either use them or are around them, or our kids have used them. So differences in the community that I've seen over the years is there's less extended families in the area. The kids, even though there's a lot of families, young families that have come back, there's also a lot of families that have moved away. And with that, as the parents, aunts and uncles, grandparents have either retired or gotten older and their kids are no longer active in high school or even college, they've also moved away to where their kids are. So there's less people in that aspect. Growing up, you'd have activities or functions in town, and you'd have your parents, your grandparents, your aunts and uncles, you'd have everybody there. It seems like there's less of that. But with that said, we've had a strong return of young families, and then a lot of families that have gone away initially and then wanted to come back to the area and either run or take over businesses after the fact. Shickley can be a great place to raise a family because it's got everything you really need, and with this day and age, with the internet, the opportunities it has, you can pretty much do anything from this town and not have to deal with the large city, I'm gonna call them headaches. Most of the necessities are all within 10, 15, 20 miles, all while living in a small community where you can trust your neighbors down the street and have your kids kind of do whatever they want in town without worrying about them. To describe our community, this community is very progressive. It's a proud community. It's a community that doesn't like to fail at things. It's a community that has answered the call to every project it's ever tried to build, complete, pay for. Everything has always worked out and been funded and completed for the good and betterment of this community. So when asked about someone I admire from the community, someone instantly jumped into my head. That would be Richard Walter. And the reason I say that is I grew up with Rich and Darlene's kids. I played ball and did school activities and just went to school with both of them. Rich was my baseball coach. Anybody that knows Rich, you can hear his voice from a mile away, so he's very intimidating to the other players when they'd hear him. And it was that way as well in a gym or along a sideline. But I've also got to work with Richard on the community for numerous years now, and Richard will do anything for this community and has donated a lot of his time over the years, and he has donated a lot of his time and efforts to the community, especially through the foundation. Another person that has been very influential to me is Mr. Doug Strait. He was our Ag Ed FFA advisor when I was in school, and he had a lot of influence over me choosing the path that I went, not only the University of Nebraska, but agronomy, but agriculture in general. He was a great teacher and a great friend, and he was just a great man to the community, and he had a lot of influence on what I've done over the years. Advice that I value is, and this has been said numerous times, but always surround yourself with smart, better people than yourself. You'll get farther in life by being around those kind of people.